When you go to the most demanding customers, they will challenge you.
Yeah.
And they did.
Things get more complex and complex and complex.
If you have done it a few times, you know how to go about it. It doesn't make it easy at all.
For you, what's VR, what's AR?
That might be a very narrow view, but I have a view.
Why are you in this field?
There's a genuine problem that people are screaming for.
Why'd you guys go to B2C? Like, that's the hardest thing to do.
Yes, that's a very good question.
I'm excited. Nice. Hello, I'm Taron, host of Bend Reality, where I talk with founders and builders in the XR space that bend the space around them to build new products. Today with me I have CEO of IMR Next, Ash Kumar. Ash. Great to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, this is awesome. And we're at Founders Inc. In SF. It's an awesome space. And Hubert, John, and Six were like generous enough for the hospitality. So and I'm inspired by this space. Love it. So it's great. So I'll give a little intro on IMR Next. So correct me where I'm off.
Go for it.
Yeah. So IMR Next hardware and software is a complete cable replacement solution that provides bidirectional video, audio, and control to enable next-level user immersion for anything that needs real-time video interaction with low latency, high-quality image.
Well summarized. Great job.
And recently, you guys have launched Nofio, which is a solution for VR. We'll get into it a little later, but can you tell me a little about IMR Next?
So IMR Next has been for a few years now, and our focus have been to deliver real low latency, high quality wireless solutions, and the objective for that is typically you see when you go wireless or cable replacement, as we call it, you have to make compromises. And we thought to be really empower the product companies to bring the products, we want to take the challenge away. And it's a hard one to crack. So, but that's what it has been our focus for the last few years. And VR is one of the best use cases in that scenario. So that's how Nofio came about. But what we are doing is we have packaged our offering and we license it to anybody who wants to bring wireless immersive products in the market and have a need of real-time video interaction. That is where is our sweet spot. And so yeah, it is slowly taking shape. We are happy about it.
Nice. So it's basically for any kind of wireless streaming to TV, like PlayStation, VR, anything that has an HDMI that can be replaced. Yeah,
absolutely. Even if you can go all the way to drones when you are streaming data from drones down to an operation center and you're managing it. The latencies are a lot higher, and because we can optimize how we communicate and manage data end to end. It opens that as well. So it's not just point to point in a short space, which is, as you said, can be wireless TV, wireless gaming TV, gaming monitors. It can be drone. It can be surgery. It can be automation. It can be automotive Ethernet. Can be replaced to our solution. So yeah, I mean the use case is plenty, but as a young company, you can only tackle so much.
Yeah, that's the thing about like we were talking about the other days,
absolutely
not getting. Not taking every opportunity that comes, and that's one of the hardest things to do in a startup, right?
It hurts because you know where you can add value, but you're always constrained by multiple factors, like industries that take a lot longer to decide. So you want to keep chipping away at it, things that you can do it quickly, and solutions that you can bring forward instantly and can create value. So it is a combination of all of those, your funds available, market challenges. And you have to constantly make those choices. And those who make the right choices at the right time succeed.
How do you know what to choose?
as I said, there is a combination of opportunity and risk and challenges. So it is to do with, and with every company, that is the challenge, no matter how big or small you are. For us, the first thing we did was Nofio, because we wanted to showcase the true immersive experience wirelessly. And going VR first was a strategy that we went for, because you can't hide away. If the latency is not good, if the image quality is not good,
and VR was like the
up.
place where you could show it the most, right? Which is like the most high bandwidth.
So you can say that was stupid, Ash. If you're doing something new and exciting, go for something that does not exposes you. But we thought, if we believe in what we say and what we do, then we have to go where we can show and demonstrate their capability. And what we have seen Nofio is only the first pass of it. So there's even better improvements yet to come, and we are working on it. So yeah,
Nofio kind of came to the scene like out of the blue, and like shook things up. Like it was a little like background on Nofio. It's it enables a valve index headset right now, but it can be applied to other headsets. And I know why you guys chose Valve, because that's like the most the go-to best headset. It has like the best like users, like hardcore VR users. Yeah. So it attaches to the headset, and then there is a streamer portion that attaches to the PC, and you're able to get basically replace all the wires for the valve index, right? It's plug and play.
That's right. So I think for the headset, it doesn't know that we have come in, we have replaced the HDMI cable, and we have made it wireless. That's how we plug in. And few things you said. Hardcore users they expect certain level of quality.
Yeah.
And so yes, we went there quickly, and when we went out to the market, we were not sure how good the response would be, and the response was very good. That was the good bit. Having said that, we took a lot longer than we initially thought. So, but when you're doing something of that level of quality, and engineering to production is a different ball game altogether. And to some degree, you can
from
say
like first like demo unit to
a production unit.
I remember like Musk always talks about that. Like it's easy to make like a demo car, concept car, but it's hard. Like when you go into production, that's where
and that is so true. And that is, I will talk about the strategy of why that was important to us as a company, as IMR. But what we did was we created Nofio as a hardware company, because for IMR it is about empowering others to bring product to market, and making it wireless, and where there's high kind of low latency requirements, real-time video requirements. That's where we want to play. So we thought, because that's the core for IMR, if we start doing that and hardware, then it confuses our customers. So we thought Nofio as a hardware company, that's how we launched Nofio. And under that we did the product, which does two things. From IMR point of view, it showcases the technology, which we internally name as TIVRA, that we license. So
TIVRA, right?
TIVRA, which means sharp in Hindi. So that's
sharp.
That's where it came from, and so that's what we license. So you can think of Nofio as the first client of IMR Next in terms of that. So even though they are the company fully owned by IMR, but in the pure business sense, it is the first client that took the product, and coming to doing engineering versus doing a production, going to a production phase, and you see a lot of good engineering solutions out in the market, but very few can make to the next phase of productionizing it. And for us, it was important for two reasons. Once we can showcase, and then also we can mature, because otherwise you can continue doing the engineering and not say, let's take the next step. Let's go to the challenges of productionizing it, because it tells the market that the technology is mature enough for it to be commercialized. So from an IMR point of view, all we wanted that we can showcase the technology is good enough for it to be commercialized. for all those use cases. So we can constantly talk to the prospective customers. From a Nofio standpoint, the objective was we have got the so-called users who are passionate about VR and experience. And you can say that was a good idea and a bad idea, because when you go to the most demanding customers, they will challenge you.
Yeah.
And they did.
What was some of the challenges? Like I've seen like there's like pushback, which is great.
So I think the one of the main thing we had was around the time it took.
Okay.
And having said that,
and it was initially Kickstarter.
Yes, Kickstarter. Yeah. So Kickstarter, I think, from the point of delivery and everything else, in comparison to the market, we are in the top 1%. Even with that, we are in the top 1%, and so that's a good thing. Once we start commercializing it, there's some kind of challenges we had around the engineering side of it that we have to adjust, which had.
That came out like in the production.
Yeah, production. So I mean, when we put the product out there, and it was good that we did a small batch, and it was purely because we had to come out and we can't take much longer.
Stress testing, yeah.
So it was more about that, and putting it out there, we just realized, even though we thought we have covered all the use cases, there were use cases that we never thought of. There were some funny ones, which I will explain to you later, but the key ones around channel selection and clearing a blurry image and things like that, they're like, wow. So people who have waited for that for nearly 1.5 to 2 years, they're like, what? This is what it is? And for us, it was a shock. But I think the good thing is, in 2 months...
Was that a software
issue?
Yeah,
it's a software issue.
Okay.
Software, there's the only if you think of it, everything was a software issue for us. And I think from that date, then within 3 months, to get to a point that I can safely say that within 3 months, now after 3 months, we had not even a single new issue raised. So we are so stable from that perspective. We know all the issues.
Hardware-wise, it's okay too?
Hardware-wise, so the only thing we had is the fan noise.
Fan noise, right? Yeah, that's the...
And that can be managed through software as well.
Oh, so that's software. Okay.
Yeah, so it can be managed. So we haven't done that, but it can be managed through software.
That was the loudest, like...
Yeah.
In all literature, like, it was the loudest noise, and it was the loudest noise people were, like, complaining about. They were making the most noise about.
Yeah. So, and the good thing is it can be managed through software.
Okay.
So it and it is on a roadmap to look into it and get that sorted. So the good takeaway for us is technology is solid. We can commercialize it. We haven't had any hardware issues, and we have resolved quite a few. And the ones in the pipeline, we have a roadmap for that. So that's the good bit.
Why'd you guys go to B2C? Like, that's the hardest thing to do.
Yes, that's a very good question.
It's like the most harsh market.
It is a very good question.
Yeah.
It is a very good question. And that comes from, I mean, because we are strict NDAs, we can't expose the names, but that comes from some of the companies we are talking to while we are doing Nofio, and while we're thinking of Nofio, and they are B2C kind of clients. So for us to be able to kind of show the capability that can be mass produced was one of the requirements. But for us, I think we wanted to get there one way or the other. We had to get there. If we want to make the company successful, if we really want to use it the way we want to use it, we had to get there. So the choice was, let's go B2B and drag it for 1 more year, 1.5 or 2 more years, because B2B, you don't have to go through that rigor of commercialization. Because when you go through the rigor of commercialization, it has to do with cost, it has to do with all those impacts. Where in B2B, that is not. If the value is there, that you can justify, the money is there, from market. So that is kind of the negative side of it. The positive is, because we could do that, you can have a healthy conversation with a big volume B2C customers, because from IMR point of view, we license our technology. So the bigger the volume, the bigger the value. And the other bit is, yes, you can go B2B, but B2B has a mindset of, it's a B2B solution. Whereas B2C, if you go to the passionate customers, you will get the feedback. They will challenge you, and you will be forced to act swiftly. And once you have done that, which we have, to the best of our ability, we feel more confident that we are ready to take on bigger and better opportunities. So it was a managed risk.
Yeah,
It was
but
a risk.
played off well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. For the first few months, it was stressful when we put it out there. But I think looking back now, we have got more operational approach to delivering it. We are in a good place. Yes.
Nice. I want to switch it up a little.
Yeah.
Personally, like, what drives you? What inspires you? Why are you doing this? Why are you in this field?
Yeah, I mean, the core of it is that we want to solve tough problems. We want to tackle things that has been there, but it was in a too hard basket for majority of the company. So it has two components. It makes it harder for you as well, but the rewards can be much more fruitful if you can come on the other side. So to me it is a challenge I want to take, and every single business I've done is more about what is the toughest challenge I can overcome that has got business value on the other side. And this was no different. This was totally at the level where it really challenges you to say, like, let's go harder and create something that is global, that has got a global reach, global value. And that was the purpose of taking the company, which was working with top tier companies in engineering capacity, to change from developing tech and from the purely on the engineering point of view to licensing it, commercializing it, and creating products to showcase the maturity of the technology has been tough but a good run.
And you guys chose like the most heart pounding industry to be in. Like it's XR is
So once you tick that box, the other becomes a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got the two trajectory where you go B2B, where you constantly go about performance and not worry about the cost side of it, and then you go B2C, where you are constantly engineering for low cost solutions. So now we are in that bracket. We have to look at both, and also look at what next, because the demands of the performance that we deliver, it's not going to stop there. Every single day, then the demand's going to get higher and higher and higher till we absolutely...
It doesn't get easier, right?
No,
it's like...
if it was easier, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah.
That's the negative of it. The positive of it is not everybody can do it, which means you've got an opportunity in the market to leverage.
It's like I always compare it to... I don't have a kid, but like... as you're more experienced in life, I think like things get easier, but it's like a right time to have a kid. Then like you're more set, but then like just things get more complex and complex and complex. Like it's like the more you're able to take on, the more you do take on. Like.
Yeah, I think that, as you said, you asked the question about why did I take it on, and that comes with the same of if you have the knowledge and the expertise, and you know how to go through the process of getting to the other side, the process does not change. The environment might change, the people might change, the expectation might change, but the process of going from A to B does not change too much. So if you have done it a few times, you know how to go about it. Doesn't make it easy. It doesn't make it easy at all. But as long as you have the belief and a process and the people around you to take you there, you just have to go through the motions. And there'll be good days and there'll be bad days along the way.
What's your process?
Process is anything you look at. Typical process is, what are we trying to solve? How are we going about it? What are the key challenges we'll encounter? And have an overarching view of how do we believe it can be resolved. Not everything is done exactly as you planned, but along the way you are wiser and smarter, so you make more informed choices. So if you continue in that path, you can definitely get on that side.
We're talking, and you were saying like, if you find the why, the hows come. Right. So
as you said rightly. I mean, why is with everything you do, why are you doing it? And why does wonders? Because why tells you about why you are doing it, why the company is doing, why the individuals are doing, why the customers will buy, and what problem are you solving for them. So this why gives you a good overarching scope of
Core,
what that
right?
would look
Yeah,
core look
yeah.
like. And then once you know that, that defines what needs to be delivered. And then is the process of delivering, which is restricted by funds and the people in most cases. And if you're in the young and new industry, it's about market maturity. And so sometimes you can be too early, or sometimes you can be too late. So you just need to be aware of where you are in the life cycle of the industry and maturity. And once you have those handles in place, you can maneuver them to get to the end point.
I remember you were saying like things are either problems or opportunities, but opportunities themselves are problems that you see you can solve.
Yeah.
Right. So that comes like fits in with the why as well.
Yes. So I mean, as we were talking just before the podcast, is you can't just start doing something for the sake of it, because if you are doing something for the sake of it, it is something that is fulfilling for you individually. But when you put the business lens on, then it is to do with, hey, there's a market gap or an opportunity that you can tap into, or there's a genuine problem that people are screaming for. So sometimes the difference between opportunity and problems are, opportunity is something that people haven't realized what they're missing out on, whereas problem is people when they've realized what they're missing out on, they're asking for it, and that's the difference. That's why you can say when the Apple phone came in, we were not missing anything.
Yeah.
But since they came in, we realized what we are missing, and that's why if a company can see, like, hey, if we can do X, Y, and Z differently, it can create that value. So that's where the opportunity kind of comes into play.
Where a company or like a person is able to predict further down the pipeline of what the opportunity can solve than someone else. So that's what opportunity is. Yeah, you're saying.
So I think the way I see it is like problem solving is backward looking, opportunity is forward looking. So problem is something is hurting you. That's a problem.
Okay.
So that's where the problems kind of comes into play, but opportunity comes into play of saying, look, if I can do this differently, I can create bigger value, and knowing knowing the concept of value at a given point in time. So that is more driven from the perspective of you can imagine it differently, and you can realize the problems that others are not realizing, and that goes back to if you go to someone who is riding a bullock cart, all you'll get is how to make the bullock cart go faster.
Okay.
But somebody has to imagine, what if there was a machine that is 10 times faster than bullock cart? So what value it can create, So I think that's where the kind of opportunity comes into play. Like, if I can get you from here to here, so many problems I can solve for you. And so let me focus on that. So that's where the opportunity word kind of goes there, whereas problem is usually solving incrementally 1, 2, and 3, or collectively 3 or 4 at the same time.
I always thought like in this like XR VR field, like where the problem, like how does that statement go? Innovation is the mother of what's the mother of necessity?
Yeah, I think I remember the statement you're talking about. Innovation is the mother of necessity. Yeah, so you need something, and that's why you innovate. You're either forced to innovate or you innovate.
Yeah. So I would think it's the opposite in XR, where like we're creating these new things, and it's not a problem we're solving, so it shouldn't be like a problem solution kind of thing. It's like you're giving founders, builders, it's like we're creating this new space that's like not there before.
But I think you can put whatever angle you want to put in. You can see, that's one thing. That's imagining the word. It could be. So XR, VR.
Sorry, necessity is the mother of innovation.
Yes.
So I'm saying, I feel like it's the
Is that
opposite
positive?
in XR
I
or any emerging tech.
I don't entirely see it that way, and the reason for that is why would somebody go and buy an XR? That why we need to understand. Yes, we can create something,
Okay.
but creating something has to appeal to someone. And if it is appealing to someone, it's appealing to someone for a purpose, for a reason. So yes, it is not a problem. It's not hurting without that.
Okay.
But in presence of that, it can give you something that you have never thought of. So that's where the difference is.
So it's still problem solving. So is it still?
So as we talked about it, look, if you have a bullock cart, you can go to a faster bullock cart. Why would you imagine a car? So this is like exercise, like imagining a car. Imagining a word where you can be fully immersed into it, and put yourself to a different word and have a different experience. So people who are attracted to it, they feel the need for it, or they feel the want. In absence of that, they don't know any better. Same goes to Apple phone when they came out. We were not missing anything. Once we experienced it, it's like, oh yeah, that is.
So
something.
there always has to be an observer.
Yes,
Kind of like
you always
in relativity.
Yes.
The relativity
Yeah.
theory applies here too. There always has to be an observer for.
And
whatever
those
you're
who
creating
are
for.
visionary founders, that's exactly what they are. They are imagining.
They're both the observer
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
creator.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they can abstract of saying, look, hey, what if we can do this? Whereas problem-focused companies will say, what problems
Yeah.
are we having? So it's more reactive. There's a problem, so I have to have a solution to that.
Yeah.
So that's more reactive, where this is about, it's not hurting me, but if I can imagine a word like this. But at the same time, it has to create value. If it's not creating value for me, I'm not going to buy it. So anybody who's buying it, they see a value in it through their lens. So if I can imagine the value I can create, and I know that out of this 10 people here, there's 2 people who see the same value, that means I've got a prospective buyer on the other side. In absence of that, it will go nowhere.
It's like a kind of like psychological projection in a sense. And I was thinking the other day, like whatever we're like these levels in, let's define them as levels, like in life that we move up. Like for example, now I'm this, now I have this, I'm the CEO of this company. Now I have like more resources to manage, more people are doing as I say, right? It's more of like, it's all in the minds of people, like in the mind of people around you. Now, Ash is in this like neural pathway where he is, for me, defined that he controls these resources and I should listen to him. So all we're doing is essentially moving up in people's like minds, like so it's.
It's very kind of interesting analogy that you have kind of come up with that, and yes, it is so, and that's why you see they are visionaries, and that's why you call visionary leader versus we call good management leaders.
Yeah,
they can manage it, they can maximize the value in terms of dollar, whereas visionary entrepreneurs, they usually imagine something that is not existent. And they go through this what if scenario, what if this was there, what if we can create this? So that's why they're visionary, because they're seeing an opportunity that they can solve or experience they can create for someone, which the individuals haven't realized. I sometimes I think about the sneakers market. If you go 30, 40 years in the past, there was one sneaker. There was a formal shoe and there was a sneaker that you wear a sports shoe. And till you realized, hey, there's different version of one is a cross trainer, one for running, one for basketball, one for this sports. It was all one. So if it was not imagined by a shoe company, we would have been happy. And going through that experience day in, day out. It's same with the bullet cart and the cars. You'll have a bullock cart. You'll force the horses a bit. You'll make it a bit softer, make it a bit nicer, but you'll continue that continuous improvement journey versus not a disruptive journey. That, okay, this can be, if we do this, what if, and what will it change? So in XR, as XR is developing, people are really trying to understand what is the real use case of XR. So XR had when it came in, like, wow, it's going to change the world. And then we realized, no, it's not going to change the world because there are limitations around it. So that's when the technology limitations came into play, and right sizing of where the marketplace is.
What's right sizing?
So right sizing is basically, you can imagine that I can apply XR everywhere. But right sizing is, yes, you can apply, but you can do without it too. So yes, it is a nice to have, it's not a must have.
Okay.
So that when you start finding what is the must have, what's the nice to have, and start tailoring it to that, then you right size where do you create the most optimal value. And so when the new technology comes in, people usually get excited, and they don't really look at where is the core value creation. Sometimes people get blurred with the core value of where the value can be created versus add-on values. And so right sizing is to getting to the core of it, and everything is a plus,
okay,
a bonus. So that's why in XR world, that's why you start separating XR into VR and AR. And
we'll get into that too. As I want to hit to that point a little more. Is before, like, all of us that were in the industry kind of like oversold ourselves on the dream.
Agreed.
And that, like, it's going to replace the phone. It's going to replace everything. Kind of like morph into a like, we're thinking it's going to be Tesla from day one, like, where it's like, because like before Tesla we had like Prius as a hybrid car, as like tethered to the car.
Yeah.
Before it became fully its own, like.
Tesla changed so many things.
Yeah, on island.
Yeah.
It went through a lot of iterations, and like it's still a car. So market still defined what it should be. So, and I think same thing happens in XR, VR, AR. Is we had this idea. Now market right sized it, right?
Yeah, market is very cruel.
Yeah,
it will get you in the right place very quickly, and it has always done that. And as a technology enthusiast, sometimes you can be saying, why can't they see it? But it also tells us where we are putting a perceived value. We are putting value higher for something that truly does not mean to the people.
Purest approach.
Yeah.
It's like a concept.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we have a concept of what the like fair rule of law is in a in a given country, right? Like, the police department has to be fair.
Yeah.
It has to be this. That's the concepts that playing out, but in reality, it's actual people that are doing the rule of law. So it's our pure concept out in the real world. It's not as pure. It's still pure in its essence, and it's like birth.
Yeah.
But what it morphs into is like an amalgam.
Yeah. And that's right, and that's how XR has moved, and I think it has gone through the hype and the limitations of technology. Let's not undervalue that. To really create a VR and the experience that we're talking about, it is very demanding in technology. So you have to work within the limitations of science and physics of the world. So that puts constraints into it. So as you said, it got hyped. Then we had the reality check, and now I think we are much more mature as an industry, and now we are developing with the right size approach of where XR is going to go.
Where is like and it's kind of like now we have phone, PC, so mobile, PC, and VR, AR as like an extra added surface layer.
Yeah.
That's like it can add to it, it can play with it, but it's like an extra surface layer, not a replacement.
Yes.
What does like VR need for more? Okay, let's first define for you what's VR, what's AR.
I mean, that might be a very narrow view, but I have a view from an AR and VR point of view. For me, VR is about true immersion, whereas AR is about more on the productivity side than the immersion side. So where there's a need for you to be in a different world, you are in VR. Where you want the other world to be with you and add value in your day-to-day, that's where AR comes into play. And so you will see a lot of kind of value from AR in manufacturing support, in tech support, and in those kind of areas where you can provide the productivity capability using AR. Whereas VR, if it develops and the way it is developing, it has to be all about where you need a true immersive experience, and where immersion creates value, then VR should be the one place that we should be looking into. And that's how I kind of define it, and it has a play in everything you do.
So AR is, I'd say it's like less technically heavy, more like business.
Absolutely, very well said. Very well said. I mean, VR is ruthless. It comes from technology and demand. And I'm not saying this because we are doing something in VR, because the same technology is applied in AR and everything else. So I'm not biased to that. But because VR is about immersion, it is technology heavy. It needs the technology to move and define at a very different level, and it is not forgiving at all. Whereas AR can be very forgiving because you are bringing data elements to it. You are not really recreating an immersive world, which means the requirement on data transmission is a lot lower, and that's where I'm coming from. It is more forgiving in AR than VR.
So, what does VR need for more adoption? Let's divide into like two buckets, like consumer and enterprise.
As you know, it kind of feeds
industry,
back. Feedback to the previous conversation we were having is where VR fits versus where AR fits. So with VR, the way I see it as, VR, you have to go into the VR world to really create value, whether it is enterprise or customers. The use case might be different, but you are entering into the different world in VR. So and I think previously said about different technologies, the phones and this and that. There's so many out there. How do we coexist and create value? So I think because we have to enter into a new world to really have a VR experience, we need to make sure the transition from the real to the virtual is seamless. That is key. Because if you make that this is something that has to be very custom and very heavy in setup and very heavy in design, very heavy in use, it makes it harder. So the transitioning between those two words, the seamless it becomes, the easier it becomes from an adoption point of view. That's one. And the other one is the experience, the immersive experience. It has to be at the top level. So you need to keep growing the immersion side of it and making sure that is at that experience where you can truly into the virtual world, not gimmicky. And so that is because that is what the core value of VR is. So if you can't create the truly immersive virtual experience, then VR does not add the value it has to add or for everyone else. So that's one. You need to keep doing that. And the transition between the virtual and real has to be seamless. So if we can focus on those two, and I think the companies are doing it, and if we keep doing it that way, then we are definitely getting the best value out of VR.
So immersion and transition.
Yeah.
So transition also like in the physical environment.
Absolutely.
Actually in the physical environment.
Physical
so like
environment,
you get in, you get out.
Yeah.
And
seamlessly. Yeah.
And also, it has to fit within like the tech stack of the company as well, right? Let's look at like the industry use case.
I think So I think this from a consumer point of view, not so much. But when you're looking at from a B2B, B2B is heavy on technologies. Every businesses have got 10,000 other technologies that are being played in and out. So for them, they need. The B2B market is maturing. Let's be honest about it. It hasn't been matured for mass adoption. It is still trialing things, seeing where we can use it, and we are using to some degree, but it's not really operationalized. So I think we are still in trial and error phase of what is the right sizing for them looks like, So I think it is already happening, and as it happens, your mind has to switch towards what is happening for mass adoption. That means you have to make it easier for B2B businesses to do a mass adoption of these technologies, where how they're supported, how they're managed, how they're licensed, how the cycle of hardware return and everything else. Those components are not truly at play, and not to the level that it has to be to say we have a B2B solutions, products, models, services, because all of that has to be there for mass adoption. Otherwise, it is just a trial and error game.
Like
Somebody's
unit,
spending a bit more because there's somebody at the top is very passionate about it, versus no, this is something that operationally we have to do it. So like as an organization adopting VR as one of the onboarding process on a technology learning, that anybody who walks in company X has to go through 4 hours of training in VR, and the assessment will happen, things like that. So then that's where when you put into an operational process, and VR and AR is part of that process, then the business business and enterprise solutions and products are really being operationalized and can be ready for mass consumption.
So a lot of it has to be turnkey, right?
Yes.
So like for both physically and like content wise, it has to like you don't need like a.
No. It should be as big corporates when you walk in, you get a laptop, you get a phone, you get your desk, you go to your email, you get this login, and VR and XR has to be in the same vein, depending on how it is being used by the company, but it has to be that easy for their internal IT to adopt and support it, because if they have to do it, they're not, organizations are not designed that way. They use partners, so it has to be designed and supported that way, and that maturity is starting. The conversations are happening, for sure.
I noticed it too. Like I felt it at AWE this year. I felt like XR had arrived. Like it's before it was me including. We were all towards like building the best, like edge of edge. Like it's like how much further can we push? How much further can we push? But now, like also at like doing business like at Knox Labs, I see it. I see companies adopting, trying it. Also like government, like the defense, actually adopting it, like on a wider scale. And you would think like defense, they move fast, but like government agencies like move slow. But they are actually adopting this at mass scale, not as often, but seeing that is very
and it's kind of interesting. You said when we looked at the VR, we're like faster and better. That has been the focus, and I use the word right sizing. I will go back to that of saying, look, not everything is requiring to be faster. So So right sizing is what am I using it for, and what is the level of immersion required. So the offering that has to be, hey, you can do that level, you can do that level, you can do it level. It's not that one product that is the best and that's what you have to go for. And every company is going to do that, so because they want to go for the immersive experience. But not every single scenario needs that. So I think that's where you can, if you have an offering that says, look, hey, for A, B, and C, you can deal with this product versus for this you've got to upgrade to this, and then we have to upgrade to this. And that kind of offering in the market is needed. So we can say, for this use case, for this need, this is where this plugs in rightly. So I think the market will start maturing. And as you said, the interest is already there. And hopefully in the years to come, we can see that.
So we need these like solution-based anchoring points.
Absolutely.
Where that things can plug in and like maybe...
And make it easy for the customers.
Yeah. And maybe like sprinting all the time is not the best idea. And just sprint, rest. Maybe only like the sun is only like always on and burning. I want to go into a little like for new entrepreneurs and developers or developers like or builders in like the XR market that are thinking of getting into this industry. What's needed for them? What does like a good VR ecosystem look like? Maybe those are two separate questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, as you said, we are just sitting here in this facility is a good example of what does a new VR ecosystem look like. Because, as you said, the VR ecosystem is maturing. Yes, we've got a couple of big players.
Yeah.
But that they will have their control environment. They will manage it that way. They create opportunities for developers.
But they bucketize it, right? It's...
so and so that's what there are people who will be happy to create for them and work for them. Whereas if you're maturing the ecosystem, you look at the whole supply chain in the ecosystem and all the opportunities that plug along the way. Be it accessories, be it core VR, be it other elements. So look at okay, you can create content, you can do software, you can do hardware, you can focus on haptics, you can focus on headsets, you can focus on wireless connectivity, which Nofio is doing. So there's is a plethora and that's why
that's the industry, right?
That's what I'm saying.
That's the industry.
So previously it was all about faster. That's the only thing we focus on. Now, a bigger adoption requires all of those components to meet different requirements for different customers. And that's why it is a XR industry-wide view of what are the things people are asking for, craving for, what are the questions they have. Do we have an answer for them? If not, who is building it? Do we need initially any industry that develops? They talk to each other and they learn from it, and then when they grow, they become really siloed. Mm-hmm. So I think we are the cusp of where the only who were sucked into the passion of creating something new has gone through. Now we are saying, okay, people are looking at XR as something seriously that can be adopted. So with that, there'll be new requirements, new needs, new business opportunities will come from. And it is not just looking at one thing at a time, because it's not mature enough to say, I can just focus on that, everything is available, I can just get it from the market. You need to have those conversations to make that happen. And that's why it's more of it has to be in a controlled ecosystem of some sort or uncontrolled ecosystem where people come together through ideas, challenges, and solve problems and create opportunities for others until it becomes big enough for sub-industries to come in. So I think we are seeing the growth of accessory companies and things like that. And that's a good sign that says as an industry we are maturing, but it should not be seen as XR tech. Mm-hmm. It should be seen as what is the XR ecosystem looks like. Where do we add value? Where do we enhance value? Who can we help? and what is needed. And there'll be so many small subsystems and subcomponents that has to start developing for it to become a full-blown industry.
Because as you were talking about this, I started thinking like we're so like heavily immersed into, we call it the industry, but it's like VR for me, like regardless of the name, it's just one thing in my mind. Yeah. But as you start breaking it down, it does feel like an industry. Like, cause like, okay, if I'm thinking about like building like a fintech app, right? Or like, let's take a fintech app. There are these modules that exist already where, okay, if I'm doing a fintech app, what am I building it for? Which cloud am I using to build it on? What language am I building it in? How's the dashboard going to look like? How is it going to interact with the customer? So there's all these like
subsystems already built.
And like you don't think of it that's the industry. Yeah. Those things just exist.
Yes.
But they don't just exist. They didn't exist before. They've become standardized. The kind of like words is now, as you said that, it like made me think like that's happening in this industry too. Like, you named so many just on the hardware thing, right? Like there's like haptics, headsets, input, accessories, like
platform, cross-platform engagement, going from one product to the other. Is there a platform that can go switch across multiple platforms? Because as I said, that is what I was talking about, transitioning. So for it to be adopted, these things should be available for us and should not be a big pressure on a customer or a corporate. So like, okay, we have to make these tough choices. We don't know how we are going about it. It should be more open and streamlined and easier to adopt, set up, use. So all of this has to develop together, and the standards will come out of it. And suddenly you plug into those things, and the subsystems people can go and create on their own. And that's where you start creating differential values for differential use cases. And that's when it truly becomes industry. Because currently it is a bunch of passionate companies and people coming together, creating value. And
that's how I saw it. Like it was one, like fully into it. In my head, it's one. And then there's like a bunch of passionate people doing things. And we're trying to find where we were. But now it feels it's arrived. It's
agreed.
And with like at Knox, like inadvertently, like that's what we're doing. Now I've started to realize why we're doing it is like, at least like I had the problem of like launching a new product is always hard, and like the sales and the marketing and stuff is thing. So we automatically started doing that for like other builders, like XR companies, like doing the whole marketing, sales, distribution, all of that. So I can concentrate on building, or other builders can concentrate on building. But that's forming the ecosystem. That's forming the industry. It's funny. Like you don't until you take a step back, you don't realize it.
How much are you playing in the ecosystem?
Yeah. And like what Founders Inc. is doing is really cool too. And I think we need more of that. Is like more of a venture studio approach, right? As versus like a VC, like to help grow that part of the entry point for the ecosystem, right? What do you think about that? Like,
as we discuss, it is a developing ecosystem, and in developing ecosystem, you don't have point-to-point value. We do this and we create this value. It's not straight line. It's not one-to-one. It is one-to-many. So when it is one-to-many, you need to have, either if you have a VC that is fully into it, that's a different story. But if you're not, then you need a group of group of people to come together who are passionate for this vertical to grow, and they want to lead the growth and maturity of the industry.
It's not just putting money in, it's actually...
And putting money in, and also knowing that there are things that might not work, there are things that will, and as we use the word ecosystem, it's like, you've got one here, you have one in LA, one in Dallas, and you've got five or six of them. They can cross collaborate, and instead of trying to compete, we are saying if you're focusing on this, I'm focusing on that, and because the market is still very young, that is a much more collaborative approach towards creating value, because if the market is big enough for 10 to compete, go and compete, not a problem. But this market is developing. Yeah, the technology is, to be very frank, is right sized. With the big players coming in, there's maturity that will be forced to them as well. So it really creates that opportunity to say, look, how do we cross collaborate and get there faster. And yeah, so if you have studios who are doing that successfully, yeah, they have got a good place.
Because it
has to come from passion, though.
Yeah, and it also gives like an opportunity to not fit into one of the existing buckets, right? Yeah. Like whether it's like the MetaQuest store, Apple store, like that's great, but there's so much more. And and like how do you enable those founders, those builders to do that? And that's to get that independence.
Yeah, and that is why I think what you said kind of makes sense, is because if you're doing that, then it's very siloed and becomes project. And usually projects in funding is usually to do with, this is my input, this is my return. It is very, very narrow, very focused. But in some cases, 30% of what you do is towards enabling others, versus 70% is what you do will create value. So how do you create that? And that's why you need the approach of, this is a focused approach to create value. This is the focused approach to develop the industry, and yeah, Studio Part does help.
I'm excited. I think we're at a good place.
It is a good place. The industry is at a good place.
I want to ask some personal questions, if that's okay, because you have like a lot of wisdom. Yep.
With age, it comes, mate.
Okay, I'll give that. It does. Yeah, like I always like I like white hair. Because it's yours is a because it's something earned. Yeah, it's earned by living, and it's nice. Like growing old is nice. You get that wisdom, but there's also like what you do with that wisdom, and like
that's your choice.
Yeah. So I think you've done well. Like you like I've learned a lot of like good life and business advice from you. So what's like a significant failure that you've learned from? Like something comes up to top of your mind.
I think every few years you get one or two. So it's a constant. So I think the significant thing is not about one failure. I would say the significant principle of failure is inevitable. Okay. And failure does not define you. What you do with the failure defines you. So people get worried about failures. Failure, if I have a failure in my portfolio of learning, then there's something wrong with me. Whereas I say, if you have gone through something and you've gone through a failure, is how do I overcome it, and how do I leverage it and compartmentalize it into what is my key learning, what we can do differently, and how we can solve it. So I think for me it is about what comes after failure defines you, not failure itself. And to me that's the biggest learning, because initially it was all growing up in a professional world. You're too scared to fail. You are too protective. You are making decisions to make sure your image is not compromised. But once you let that go, you create multifold bigger value, because what you're saying is, I know who I am. I know what value can I bring. So you should know what value you can bring. That's the core of it. What value can I bring to the table, and what gaps do I have? And with that, you do more, you learn more about yourself and you move. But the moment you let that guard go and be willing to be out there in the open to say, look, hey, I'm going to try this. This might not work. This is how I'm going to manage it. And if it doesn't work, this is what I will do. And then you go through the process. You get respect from peers. You get respect from people above you. And you yourself feel a lot freer. That is, to me, that is the biggest learning of my life. Of don't worry about the failures, because people don't worry about the failure. They would say, if I fail, I'll be defined by it. So just take that small component away. That yes, if I'm doing something, if I have the chance to succeed, there's a chance to fail. That is a given. So I know that, but I know what I bring to the table and how I can create value. And if we continue on that path, everything finds its place. Don't get too hung up about the component of failure. Get hung up about what I'm bringing to the table, and once the failure happens, how do I come out of it? And that process of coming out of it, if you have gone through a few times, you can take this on, and that's why I've taken IMR on because I've gone through that exercise in my life. And yes, it is tough, it is hard, it is complex, but that's why I want to do it. And from an IMR standpoint, so I think that's, to me, it is the fear of failure. Let that go,
that's
and
awesome.
you can fly.
Yeah, it's kind of like going back to it's right sizing yourself.
Yeah.
Kind of like when you know your structure, your core, like a cell or like a mitochondria.
Yeah.
It knows its function, and it's freer to move because of it. I want to ask 2 more questions.
Please.
What's some of what's a book you're reading now, or one of your favorite books?
I mean, there's a plain Christian book, which is How to Measure Life, is something that has had a huge impact. And I had the pleasure in my Howard University days to be in his class and be with him. So that has had an impact that kind of helped me how to measure myself, how to measure life, how to measure success, failures, and really be a bit more pragmatic and not get too consumed about what is happening around you. So that is always had a huge impact. From a life perspective, I think the core value is be open.
Yeah, that's my last question actually. What is life
Life
for you?
Yeah, life for me.
Or what's
is,
consciousness?
Yeah. I think for me the way I think about it is every single day, every single moment, no matter how small it is, I have to be open to be willing to give. Willing to give means willing to share what I think is right, and if I've done that, I've done my duty to the person in front of me. So that to me that is how I define that. Look, in a moment, am I trying to create value, and that is how micro I've gone from thinking is like, in a moment, if I'm talking to you, I have to be genuine, not about my personal agenda, personal beliefs. It's about, in this moment, can I create value? If I'm talking to you right now, it is not about how I'm projected, how I'm perceived, what I'm saying. In this moment, if I'm talking to you, if somebody is listening to me, am I trying to do my best in this moment to share what I know and what I can do? And if I've done that, and if that helps even one person, even for a moment, that is value to me. So if I can keep doing it, I don't have to worry about the value I'm creating or the person I'm becoming, because every moment is helping me become that person. And every single second adds to the value of life. So that's how simple it is for me. Very, very simple.
Yeah, like God and love are simple.
Yeah.
And there's this song like build like just helps somebody, one body, and like build the world around them. For example, like it's just if there's that one, and that's enough. And serving is the key. I think.
So I think I'm a servant leader. As you use the word serving, and I said is the purpose. Every single moment has a purpose. If I can visualize that purpose and try to give my best, that's all I can do. Nothing else you can control in life. What you can control in life is what you can give. So be comfortable with that, and the rest will be taken care of.
Ash,
thank you.
Pleasure always.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is awesome.
How much time did we take?